Imagine you're a bilingual who speaks two languages, your first language being Spanish and your second language being English, and you're reading a book in English. Everything's going fine until a word pops up that exists in both of your languages. But here's the catch, it means something totally different in each one. For example, the word could be pie, meaning food in English, but in Spanish, pie means foot. Suddenly, your brain hesitates. Which meaning is the right one? Are both languages fighting for your attention? And is that slowing down your understanding?
That's what the researchers Schwartz and Kroll wanted to find out. They were curious whether the context of a sentence determines how predictable or meaningful it is. They investigated this by doing a study with bilinguals. The key research question was whether bilinguals are able to filter out irrelevant language.
How did they investigate this? In this study, they conducted two experiments to see if people who speak two languages think about both when reading sentences with certain words. They tested two types of bilinguals, one group that was highly proficient and used their second language often, and another group that was more intermediate and didn't use it as much day to day. They used eye tracking and reaction times to see how long people looked at certain words, like cognates and interlingual homographs, which we will explain in a moment, to find out if the other language was interfering with their understanding of the word.
They made sentences that's either really predictable, like the farmer milked the, and you guess cow, which is a high constraint sentence, or not predictable at all, like I went to the, which you can't really predict what's next. This we call a low constraint sentence.
In the middle of these sentences, they'd throw in words that sounded the same across both languages but have different meanings to see how the brain reacted. For example, pan in Spanish means bread, but pan in English is a cooking utensil. We call words like these interlingual homographs. They also throw in cognates, which are words that have the same or similar sounds and meanings in both languages. To give you an example of a cognate, in Japanese, bag is kaban, whereas in Korean, bag is kaban. We call these cognates.
So, the researchers tested to find out if they could use high constraint and cognates to help bilinguals quickly understand the context of a sentence. Furthermore, they wanted to see if low constraint sentences and interlingual homographs would slow down their reaction times. What they found was pretty cool. The high proficiency group showed signs that both languages were active, but the context of a sentence helped them stay focused on the right meaning. The lower proficiency group, though, was much more likely to get tripped up by their first language. So, overall, it showed that experience and language use make a big difference in how well bilinguals tune out their irrelevant language when they read.
To get a better understanding of this, we did a casual, non-scientific experiment ourselves of lexical activation within bilinguals in a low-constraint sentence. As our group has varying skill levels of Japanese and Korean, we decided to ask the member with no knowledge of either language to say the following sentence to see how the other members reacted.
Can you give me hana? In Japanese, hana means flower, but in Korean, it means one. The people in our group have varying skill sets of Korean and Japanese. By hearing someone that doesn't speak it says this sentence, we actually found that hana was activated differently for each individual. A member in our group learned few Japanese and almost no Korean, and unsurprisingly, they heard hana in Japanese, which means that their dominant language was activated after hearing the rest of the sentence. Can you give me is a low constraint sentence, and seeing the response gave an indication to what language was activated for each individual. Whereas members who could speak both languages, we found that it was hard to predict what language they would use to interpret the word.
What we can take away from Schwartz and Kroll's study and our experience is that language activation is difficult to measure. It depends on each person's language ability and personal experiences. What this suggests is that among bilinguals, lexical activation tends to occur in the more dominant language. Schwartz and Kroll showed that bilingual brains are always doing a bit of language juggling, even when reading just one language. There's still a lot we don't know about. It'll be exciting to see where future research takes this, and what else we can learn about how bilingual minds really tick.